Welcome everyone to Washington Finance Group Hub International Fiduciary Fitness Podcast. I'm pleased to be joined today by John Carl, who is the president of the Retirement Learning Center. And his firm is a great resource to us and all of our clients whenever they have questions about anything ERISA related and anything fiduciary related. So John, thank you so much for being here today.
Pleasure and a privilege, Colin.
Yeah, so we're going to have a couple of different podcasts out of this segment, but wanted to introduce the first part of it. John, one of the things we want to talk about today is what are the most frequently asked questions you're getting at the Retirement Learning Center?
Yeah, it's a great question, Colin, as you know, and it's a privilege to be able to work with the good folks at Hub International. We get about 1,100 calls a month into the RLC with these type of consulting questions. So you're right on the money there. The number one thing is really interesting. It's a legacy issue. As we know, last year was a challenging year for every employer, big, small, medium, or large. And of course, Washington reacted with the CARES Act, right? And the CARES Act had lots of different things. But if you boil it down, Colin, to what really related to plan sponsors, there were loan provisions. So plans probably, maybe introduced new loans, forgiveness of existing loans, that was on the table, right? And then distributions, these coronavirus-related distributions, CRDs. So when we authored a paper here, which you can share with anybody who wants to chime in with you guys afterwards. We're now in the situation we call cleanup on aisle 9 of the CARES Act, right? Plan sponsors they really have to reconcile their loan policies because they have folks who maybe were not paying their loans in 2020. They got to be back on. Maybe they have some of these coronavirus related loans. And, loans are a double-edged sword for a plan sponsor. You want to help your participants, but you really got to reconcile that loan policy. I don't know what you think, Colin. Are you getting a lot of questions on that too?
Well, so my question is what are there any deadlines? I heard that 12/31 of 2020, people had to make decisions by then, right?
Well, there's a cooling period in. We still got some time to make the decisions, but 12/31, that's when the switch flips. So now our folks have to be paying their loans who might have been in a forgiveness period of time. So we do have a little bit of time here to reconcile, which I think that's why I wanted to bring this one up, Colin. Plan sponsors need guidance here. They need to get on the phone with somebody like yourself at Hub International and say, okay, let's look at what evolved with our loan policy in 2020 and let's re-reconcile and get this thing back in act. Let's make sure that folks who were forgiven loans know they're paying and that's being documented and enacted. And if we have these other disparate loans, let's re-reconcile that whole loan thing. And then the other part of it, Colin, is, as you well know, these coronavirus related distributions, that's a lifeline that was created. But, you could take up to $100,000 out of your retirement balance, which, you're kind of robbing Peter to pay for Paul here, right? Mm-hmm. And if folks overdid that on the CRD, they can actually pay those back and get tax credits for doing so because there's a 3-year taxation on that, a third. So there really needs to be a financial wellness strategy around that, identifying who got CRDs, and then again, working with somebody at Hub International to say, okay, did these folks really need it? Communicate to them. They have the ability to pay it back and get a tax credit for doing so.
Well, we're in 2021 right now as we're talking. Did plan sponsors miss the boat?
No, they didn't. They didn't at all. I think they just need to unwind this CARES Act, and they've got some time to do so. But it really requires, look, everybody's head was down in 2020 just trying to survive. But now it's time to step back and have a proper consult about what do you want your loan provisions to be going forward. Let's identify who got CRDs and make sure they're communicated to know that this was a 3-year spread out taxation. So if you overdid it and you can repay that back and get back to saving for retirement, which is the purpose of your retirement plan, then you can actually get tax credits back if you're able to pay back some of those CRD loans. But it requires you to identify who they are and engage with somebody like a Hub International to have that employee communication and wellness strategy.
So in our experience at Hub, we found that record keepers and administrators have fallen into 3 different categories. One is you're doing this no matter what. Hey, you can opt out or you can opt in. What's been your experience? What have you seen?
Yeah, you're right on the money because it was all around the board. The easiest thing for record keepers to do was to just say, here's what the CARES Act had. We sent you a packet, whether the plan sponsor theoretically ever got that packet or not. If you did not elect to do something proactively, then you got all the provisions, right? Mm-hmm. You got new loans, you got forgiveness of loans, and you had the CRDs rolled out. So I think that was more of the default. If you had an existing client, I know what you did, because I know you went out to your plan sponsors in advance and said, hey, this is what's available to you. Let's have a strategy. But a lot of plan sponsors didn't have that luxury. So now we're in that cleanup on aisle 9 situation right now. So, if you didn't have it, don't worry. But now is the time to clean it up. We do have a little bit of time here, but they got to get on it because we have to clean this up by the end of the first quarter.
Well, John, this has been very helpful. Thank you so much.
Super cool, Colin.
That's going to do it for this week's show. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy our show, we'd love for you to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you access your podcasts. The opinions voiced in this program are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial, or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice offered through Global Retirement Partners, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Global Retirement Partners, Washington Financial Group, a division of Hub International Mid-Atlantic, and Hub International are not affiliated with LPL Financial. Global Retirement Partners, LPL Financial, Washington Financial Group, and Hub International are not affiliated in any way with the services offered by any guest on this show.